The Avengers have always been Earth's first line of defense, but behind their heroic facade, there are some shocking secrets. Today on CBR, we tell you the 10 biggest secrets of the Avengers. Iron Man's incredible wealth has always been a major backbone for the Avengers. From funding missions to building high-tech HQs, Tony Stark has played a critical role in supporting the team. Beyond the money, he's also one of the original founders and a key player in their success. This makes him an obvious target for someone like Kang the Conqueror. Kang, a time-traveling villain with a deep obsession for taking down the Avengers, quickly realized that brute force wasn't the answer. No matter how many times he attacked, the Avengers always found a way to win, so he decided to change tactics. Instead of attacking from the outside, he targeted them from within, manipulating their most trusted member, Iron Man. Using his knowledge of time travel, Kang sought to influence Tony Stark's decisions over time. Kang interfered with Tony's choices in subtle ways, nudging him toward decisions that ultimately weakened the Avengers. This manipulation, however, wasn't something the team could immediately detect. It was a slow, strategic game that spanned years, with the effects becoming apparent only as the team started to fall apart. The Avengers decided not to make public the fact that Tony Stark had been subtly influenced over the years. They feared that such a revelation would shatter the team's image and tarnish Tony's legacy. While the desire to protect Tony is understandable, since he is their colleague and friend, this decision still shows the Avengers prioritizing their own image over the truth. This move towards secrecy over transparency with the public becomes a defining theme for the Avengers throughout the franchise as well. The Avengers Unity Squad always felt like a case of too little, too late. For years, the Avengers didn't really lift a finger for mutant kind. The Avengers Unity Squad was meant to rectify this mistake, but they did not really make a strong enough stand for their mutant allies. When they finally stepped up, after Cyclops went full Dark Phoenix and the world was already spiraling, it felt more like damage control than real allyship. The Avengers Unity Squad ultimately felt like slapping super glue on a gushing pipe and hoping for the best. Right from the start, the Unity Squad was dealing with serious baggage. Some original Avengers backed Scarlet Witch after her "No More Mutants" moment, where she wiped out the powers of nearly 1 million mutants. She acted like it was no big deal, and the X-Men weren't exactly thrilled about that. Trust was fragile at best, even between the members of the team. Sensing all the tension, the Apocalypse twins, children of Archangel and products of a dark future, used that division to tear everything apart. They manipulated events so perfectly that Earth ended up destroyed by the Celestials. But before it was all over, they had Scarlet Witch cast a massive spell to save only mutants and relocate them to a new world, Planet X. In the end, Havoc, Wasp, Beast, and the remaining Uncanny Avengers traveled back in time with Kang's help to stop it all. They erased Planet X from existence to restore the timeline and kept it all under wraps. Just another secret swept under the rug to protect the fragile peace between mutants and the world. The Avengers have faced some of the most powerful enemies in the universe, but the Celestials are in a league of their own. These ancient cosmic beings are essentially gods of the universe, vastly powerful, mysterious, and responsible for manipulating the evolution of life across countless planets. Earth is just one of many worlds they've influenced over the eons. While the Avengers were aware of the Celestials' involvement with Earth, mainly through the Eternals, a race they created, they never fully understood the depth of that connection. It was only later that they learned the shocking truth. Humanity's existence is directly tied to the death of a Celestial, known as the Progenitor. The Progenitor, a Celestial, crash-landed on early Earth millions of years ago while infected with a cosmic disease. This infection spread to the planet, causing significant changes in its evolutionary path. Essentially, the disease altered Earth's genetic makeup, paving the way for the rise of human life, superhumans, and the extraordinary abilities that would eventually emerge. In a sense, humanity owes its existence to the tragic death of a Celestial, whose sickness inadvertently shaped the course of life on Earth. The story became even more complex when Loki manipulated events that led to the return of the Dark Celestials, corrupted versions of their kind. These Dark Celestials came to Earth seeking the Progenitor's remains, believing they could harness its power. The Avengers fought to stop this threat, but they kept the truth about the Progenitor and the Celestials' role in human evolution hidden from the public. Some secrets they decided were too dangerous to reveal. The Dark Avengers were a masterclass in lies and manipulation, the crown jewel of Norman Osborn's twisted little empire during the Dark Reign era. After managing to kill the Skrull Queen Varanki during the whole secret invasion mess, Osborn somehow came out looking like a hero. Incredibly, the government handed him the keys to the kingdom, control over S.H.I.E.L.D., the superhero initiative, and even the Avengers. Naturally, he tore it all down and rebuilt it in his own image. S.H.I.E.L.D. became Hammer, the Hood and his crime syndicate got plugged into the initiative, and Osborn assembled a brand new team of Avengers. Only instead of heroes, he filled it with villains in disguise. Moonstone became the new Ms. Marvel, Bullseye suited up as Hawkeye, Venom, the Mac Gargan version, formerly the Scorpion, wore Spider-Man's colors, and Daken, Wolverine's son, stepped into his dad's shoes, literally. Norman himself threw on some high-tech Iron Patriot armor, mashing up Iron Man and Captain America's look to play the part of team leader and national icon. The public totally fooled. As far as they knew, these were Earth's mightiest heroes. What they didn't realize was that their new protectors were villains, killers, and unstable mercenaries. Osborn kept their real identities hidden and used the team as his personal Black Ops unit, striking fear and crushing opposition while pretending to be saviors. It all started with something that should have been joyful. Wanda and Vision, against all odds, had children. Billy and Tommy were miracle babies, born from Wanda's magic. The catch? They weren't exactly real in the traditional sense. Unbeknownst to Wanda, she had used fragments of Mephisto's soul, Marvel's devil, to create her sons. For a while, everything seemed fine, but reality has a way of catching up. When the truth came out, the Avengers were horrified. Instead of helping Wanda cope, they allowed Agatha Harkness to magically wipe the whole memory of her children from Wanda's mind, making it seem like they never existed. During a casual chat, Wasp accidentally reminded Wanda about her children, and that tiny slip unraveled everything. Wanda's already fragile mental state broke completely. First, she killed Agatha in a fit of rage. Then she hijacked Vision's body and a Quinjet, causing massive destruction and crashing them into Avengers Mansion, killing Scott Lang, Ant-Man, in the process. But she wasn't done. Wanda created a horde of Ultrons using Vision's body, forcing the Avengers into a brutal fight. Then, in a final act of chaos, she summoned the team's greatest foes from thin air. Illusions, perhaps, but deadly ones. Hawkeye died in the aftermath of Wanda's rampage, and the team was left broken, both physically and emotionally. All of this might have been avoided if the Avengers had just trusted Wanda to handle the truth. This level of mistrust is especially poignant since both Billy and Tommy did actually exist after all. Their souls were just sent into the bodies of other children. Thus, if Wanda had been told the truth from the start, she may have been able to find her children sooner and been a stronger presence in their lives. The Illuminati have always been one of Marvel's most controversial secret squads. On paper, they were supposed to be the smartest minds in the world coming together to quietly handle the biggest threats. In reality, they made a mess more often than not, from sending Hulk into space to poking the Skrulls and indirectly setting off secret invasion. The Illuminati had a rough track record. Still, when the multiverse started collapsing in on itself, they made a comeback. This time, the threat was bigger than anything they'd ever faced. Incursions, which were alternate Earths crashing into each other, one by one, wiping out universes. If one Earth weren't destroyed during the collision, both entire universes would go poof. So yeah, pretty bad. The new Illuminati regrouped in total secrecy, even more hidden than before. Led by Iron Man and Black Panther, the roster included heavy hitters like Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, Namor, Black Bolt, and Beast. They had to make the impossible choice over and over again, destroying another Earth to save their own. It wasn't pretty, and it definitely wasn't heroic, but they thought it was necessary. And despite all their power and brains, they failed. The final incursion between Earth 616 and Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, brought everything crashing down. Still, they tried to do what no one else could. Whether that makes them villains or martyrs depends on how you look at it. Secret Invasion was one of the most shocking events to hit the Marvel Universe, but the Avengers had a front row seat to the beginning of it all. The whole mess started when the new Avengers were called to Japan by Echo, who had noticed something weird happening in the Japanese underworld. The Hand, a notorious ninja cult, was making moves, and for some reason, Elektra was at the helm. The new Avengers confronted Elektra and the Hand, but things took a wild turn when Echo, in a fight with Elektra, seemingly killed her. When the Avengers went to check on the body, they made a jaw-dropping discovery. Elektra's corpse didn't stay dead. It transformed back into its true form, a Skrull. The Skrulls had infiltrated Earth in plain sight, and this was just the beginning. Naturally, the new Avengers freaked out. They didn't tell anyone about what they'd found because, well, who could they trust? Everyone was a potential Skrull, and the last thing they wanted was mass panic. The Skrull Queen, Veronka, who had been masquerading as Spider-Woman all along, secretly took the corpse to Tony Stark. Stark, ever the tactician, kept this secret from S.H.I.E.L.D. and the rest of the world. But his silence only bought the Skrulls more time to infiltrate key positions on Earth. Paranoia spread like wildfire. backfire. The heroes were isolated, suspicious of each other, and scrambling to figure out who was real and who wasn't. The Skrulls were doing their thing, quietly replacing key figures in government, the Avengers, and other organizations. By the time the heroes came together to stop them, the invasion had already gotten way out of hand. It wasn't until later that the full scale of the Skrull plot was revealed, and by then, the damage was done. The Skrull invasion was yet another example of the Avengers choosing to keep secrets for the people's protection that backfired and made things worse for everyone involved. Norman Osborn's Dark Reign was a period of chaos and manipulation, and one of his most dangerous moves involved making a deal with the Void, the dark, destructive side of the Sentry. Osborn had control of his own Avengers team, including key members from Iron Man's mighty Avengers, but it was the Sentry who proved to be the most valuable and dangerous asset. Robert Reynolds, the man behind the Sentry, had long struggled with the Void, a monstrous force of pure chaos that lived within him. The Void was essentially the Sentry's dark half, a being of unimaginable destruction. Osborn, being the manipulative genius that he was, saw an opportunity. He began to control the Sentry by striking a deal with the Void. With the Void growing more powerful and taking over Reynolds' mind more often, Osborn used it as a weapon to crush anyone who got in his way. The Void quickly became Osborn's personal attack dog. With this godlike being at his disposal, Osborn had a weapon capable of leveling entire cities. He would send the Sentry, under the full control of the Void, on missions to wipe out enemies, intimidate rivals, and break anyone who dared to challenge his reign. It was a brilliant, if terrifying, strategy, but things went wrong. The more Osborn used the Void, the more the destructive entity gained control over the Sentry. Eventually, the Void broke free, fully overtaking Robert Reynolds. What was once a weapon under Osborn's control became a ticking time bomb. The Avengers had no choice but to battle the Void in a desperate attempt to stop the rampaging force of destruction, all because Osborn had let the Void get too powerful. Captain America has always stood for truth and justice, but when the multiverse was on the brink of destruction due to the incursions, even Steve Rogers found himself caught in a tough spot. The Illuminati, a secret group of the world's most brilliant minds, decided that the only way to save Earth-16 was to destroy the other Earth colliding with it. It was a terrible decision, but one they believed was necessary to prevent the collapse of the entire multiverse. Captain America, who had never been one to shy away from hard choices, reluctantly joined the Illuminati, hoping that his presence would steer the group towards a more ethical path. However, when Cap discovered the full scope of their plan to destroy the other Earth, he couldn't stand by it. His sense of duty to the people of Earth led him to announce that he would reveal the truth of the incursions and their drastic plan to the world. This wasn't a plan the Illuminati could afford to have exposed. Their decision was one they couldn't risk getting out to the public, especially since it involved the mass destruction of another Earth. So, in one of the most brutal moves they ever made, the Illuminati took action to silence Steve. Doctor Strange, using his magical abilities, mind-wiped Captain America. He erased Steve's memories of being part of the Illuminati altogether, effectively making him forget that the multiverse was collapsing and that he'd been involved in such a morally gray decision. While this may seem small compared to some of the more extreme actions the Illuminati would take later, it was a deeply personal betrayal. The Illuminati had not only deceived the world, but had done something terrible to a friend, someone they should have been able to trust. It marked the beginning of a series of moral compromises that would eventually lead to the Illuminati's downfall. Marvel's multiverse is enormous, but even something that vast isn't immune to falling apart. The incursions were the first sign that something was wrong. The Engineers, a mysterious offshoot of the Builders, an ancient race responsible for creating structures that connected universes, noticed the collapse before anyone else. It was their job to maintain the stability of the multiverse, so when they saw the first cracks appear, they knew the threat was real. Eventually, Earth's smartest heroes, including Tony Stark, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange, realized that the multiverse was unraveling and that it wasn't just an isolated incident. The incursions were the cause of the multiverse's destruction. Two universes would collide, and when they did, one had to be destroyed for the other to survive. The smartest minds on Earth didn't have much of a choice, so the Illuminati was reformed to handle the problem. But the solution was grim. In order to save their own Earth, the Illuminati decided to destroy the incoming Earths that were on a collision course multiverse with theirs. This meant stockpiling powerful weapons, including planet-killing devices, in order to stop the incursions before they could fully merge with Earth 616. The stakes were high, and no one really knew how to stop the whole thing from spiraling out of control. The Illuminati tried their best to keep this all a secret, fearing panic and chaos if the public knew the truth. Dr. Doom, ever the mastermind, discovered the truth about the incursions and saw it as his chance to take control. But even the Illuminati's greatest minds couldn't save the multiverse. Ultimately, it was Dr. Doom, Doctor Strange, and Molecule Man who had to steal the power of the Beyonders, godlike beings who had been manipulating the incursions all along to prevent the total collapse of reality itself. Sometimes the most dangerous threats aren't the ones coming from the outside, but from the tough choices and dark secrets held within the Avengers themselves. Some of these secrets have already made it to the MCU, like Scarlet Witch's children. Do you think any other ones of these secrets might make it to the big screen? Let us know in the comments, and remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching CBR.